Hey everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Mindy Banks. I'm the Flip Flop Chef, and today I'm going to share my homemade pasta class with you guys. If you've never watched one of my videos before, please hit the subscribe button while you're here, and make sure that you also go to theflipflopchef.com and click the button at the top of the page to join my recipe community. I have thousands of recipes and weekly giveaways. So I'm so excited about this class because I've learned so much about making pasta. Previous to Pampered Chef coming out with our new pasta machine that attaches to the deluxe stand mixer, I've taken 2 pasta making classes, and I learned a lot in those that I was able to kind of bring to the table tonight. So I'm going to share a little bit about that along the way, but I'm going to show you what we're going to make. I have 3 kinds of pastas here, and we're also going to make a basic pasta. This is carrot pasta. This is beetroot juice pasta, and this is spinach pasta. So I'm going to show you how to do all of these great things tonight, and I'll share all the recipes with you as well. So make sure you join my recipe community so you have access to everything that I share here. That's the best place and the best way to get everything that you need. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a basic pasta dough recipe. Some of the things that I'm going to share with you, not on camera, but that you'll have access to in my recipe community. You'll get the rainbow pasta dough recipes. I'll tell you what I did to make those ahead of time. I have an egg-free pasta recipe, a gluten-free pasta recipe. You can also make ramen noodles. That's something that we haven't done yet. And then I found a sourdough pasta recipe as well. I haven't tried that one yet either, but we are loving our pasta maker, and I can't wait to share all this with you. So I'm going to set this aside so we get it out of the way, and this is actually going to be ready to go in the freezer once it all dries out. So we'll talk more about freezing tips in just a bit. All right, so for starters, we're gonna make the basic pasta recipe right here in the deluxe stand mixer. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this ready. I've got my dough hook, and we're gonna be using the mixing bowl that comes with your deluxe stand mixer. We need to add 3 cups of flour into our mixing bowl, and then I've got all the other ingredients pre-measured out. Now, when I took pasta classes outside of Pampered Chef, I took one at Mazzone Olive Oil here in Sarasota, and also at the Technical College here in Sarasota. Both of those classes suggested that we use 00, the 00, soft wheat flour. So sometimes you'll see this as pizza dough flour, or it'll just say 00 flour. Either way is fine. If it says pizza dough, you can still use it for pasta. It is great for pizza dough as well. And I got this bag at Mazzone in Sarasota. However, we're using all-purpose flour tonight. I'd never used all-purpose flour before Pampered Chef shared this recipe with us, and so it works really well. So I'm going to go with what comes with the pasta roller, and I'll show you that in just a few minutes, so stay tuned. This is such an easy recipe. My kids have enjoyed making this, and they especially like rolling out the noodles. So I'm going to show you how to do all of that, but first I want to show you how easy it is to make the dough. So 3 cups of flour, and you'll notice that I keep my stainless measuring scoop right in my bulk food storage container so that it's always there when I need it. And I'll set that aside over here. And then we're gonna add 4 eggs. So I went ahead and got those ready. We're gonna do a 1/4 cup of olive oil. When you're making the vegetable pasta, you actually use either vegetable puree or vegetable juice, and I'll tell you more about that while this is mixing up, because it's going to take 5 minutes in the stand mixer. So I'm going to put this in here, and hopefully when I edit the video I can edit out the sound of the mixer, hopefully, and then you'll be able to hear my voice instead of just my voice instead of the mixer. We'll see how good my editing skills are, right? I think I got that in there. All right, I'm going to turn this on, and then I'm going to turn this to the knead setting. Press the wheel. Actually, I need to press cancel because I think it was remembering my last one. We're going to reduce the time to just 5 minutes. These are pre-programmed, so if you're wondering why it starts higher, these are pre-programmed settings, and so sometimes you have to adjust the time. So we've got the 3 cups of flour, 4 eggs, 1/4 cup of olive oil, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Press start on the knead setting. Now, few things that I want to share with you while we are waiting on this, and I'm going to try to talk loud just in case I'm not able to kind of drown that out later, but I want to talk to you about how I colored the pasta that I showed you guys at the beginning. So for the carrot pasta, I used carrot juice. This is Bolthouse Farms. I got this at Walmart, and the rainbow pasta recipe, and I'm cheating to make sure that I tell you guys all the right things. For the rainbow pasta, you're going to use 3 cups of flour, a half a cup of vegetable juice or puree, 2 eggs, and a half a teaspoon of salt. So the salt is less. Instead of oil, you're using the puree or the juice, and you use fewer eggs. So for the carrot, I use this carrot juice. For the beetroot juice, I actually bought this at Ross. I don't know where you can buy it regularly, but I'm sure you can get beetroot powder online. This particular one is just organic beetroot powder. There's no other ingredients added into this. So I just sort of on a whim decided that I would try to make beet juice out of this. And so because the recipe calls for a half a cup of juice, I put a tablespoon of this powder in my Easy Read measuring cup, and then I filled it with water to the half cup mark. The reason that I put the powder in first and then added the water is if I did it the other way around, the powder would increase the amount of water, and I wanted to make sure that we had the right amount of liquid and not having to pour any off. You hear this change speeds, so it started at 1, it went up to 2, and it knows exactly what to do. It's a very hands-off mixer, which I love. Now, for the spinach pasta, I have a little bit of this left, so I just saved it to show you guys. I use my deluxe cooking blender, so if you don't have that, make sure you check out my deluxe cooking blender class. I put in about a half bag of spinach, maybe slightly less, and just put whatever I had left in the bag. And I started with a 1/4 cup of water and just used the custom blend setting on the blender. It needed a little bit more water, so I put another 1/4 cup, and I blended it up until it was very, very smooth. I did not use the heated puree setting. I just used the custom blend just to get it into a liquid form. I also did not strain this in any way. I just made sure it was super, super smooth before I stopped blending, and I used a half a cup of this spinach puree in the spinach pasta. So let me pop these back in the fridge. I'll be able to use these for another batch of pasta. All right, and this is my carrot pasta. So after we finish this 5 minutes, we have just over 2 minutes left. You're gonna transfer that into plastic wrap. Now I did this already, and it has to sit at least for 30 minutes in the fridge, or you can do it the day before and refrigerate it overnight. I will say this was the one step that was different from both of the classes that I took, pasta making classes that I personally took. In both of those classes, we didn't refrigerate the dough, but we did let the dough rest on the counter for 30 minutes. When I made this the first time, I used the double O flour, and I refrigerated it like Pampered Chef suggested, but I found that with the O flour, I don't need to refrigerate it. So make sure that you pay attention to which flour you're using. If you're using the Pampered Chef recipe that comes with the pasta maker, then you're going to be fine following it as is. But if you use the O flour, don't put it in the fridge. At least that didn't work out well for me. We're gonna get our plastic wrap ready, and this one will probably go in the fridge and not get made until tomorrow. So we're gonna make lasagna sheets, we're gonna make fettuccine noodles, and I'm gonna show you how to make spaghetti noodles. So I have 4 different doughs: the spinach, the carrot, the beet, and regular. So I'm gonna just show you a bunch of different things today. So we have 1 minute left. So while we're waiting on that, I do want to show you, this is the pasta machine that I got on Amazon. This is the one that we used at the 2 classes that I took. And I'm telling you, while it's nice to have this, using a mixer is so much better because I'm not going to take this all out, but you can see it on the package here. You need extra hands. It's really hard to do this with just one person. In both classes that I took, we used 2 people to make the pasta with this, only because you have long sheets of dough, you're trying to crank, you're using a hand crank on this pasta machine, and it really is just not easy to do if you're by yourself. And who always wants to find a helper when you're trying to cook dinner, right? So while this is something that you can use, once you see how awesome this is, you're gonna love it. So let me set this aside, and then I'm gonna show you guys the pasta attachment here. But let's go ahead and get our dough out. So I'm gonna turn the mixer off, and the dough is just perfect. I don't even need my bowl scraper. So this is the dough here. What I'm gonna do, it's funny, it's like in 3 little balls there. We're just gonna kind of put all this together, and flour is your friend when it comes to making this pasta. Don't be afraid to use the flour, especially when you are going to be making the noodles before you cook them, because if you don't flour them up, then they're going to stick together and then you'll just have a big blob of noodles. So, okay, so we're gonna take off the dough hook. Let me put this in the fridge because now this one needs to go in the fridge for 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes. It can be longer. All right, this is my other batch, so I'm gonna get this out too, but I'm gonna show you the carrot first. So we're gonna use that one first. Now, I have my deluxe stand mixer 3-piece pasta roller and cutter set. So it's gonna come in this box just like this. Let me show you what all is in the box. You're gonna get instructions. I recommend that you read them. I've got pasta on my hands, let me rub that off here. You're gonna also get this recipe card, which has the basic pasta recipe that I just showed you how to make. On the back, it gives you some tips on how to properly measure your flour. So you'll notice that when I measured the flour earlier, I scooped into the measuring cup. I didn't scoop out with the measuring cup. That's a really important step. Make the pasta ahead of time. You can store this up to 18 hours in the refrigerator or 2 months in the freezer. So that's after you roll it and after you cut it, not from this state. You can leave this overnight, but you do need to cut it the next day. In freezing the pasta, you do want to let the noodles dry for about 20 minutes before you freeze them. Pop them in the freezer, and then after they're frozen on the sheet pan, put them in Ziploc bags. So let me show you what I've got. So this is how this is the frozen pasta that I made, actually my first batch with that OO flour. So you can see these are in little nests, kind of like how I had on that baking sheet back there. I'm gonna put this back in the freezer. I do recommend using freezer bags anytime you're freezing things. And then the directions here on how to quickly cook frozen noodles, because it's gonna be a little bit different than noodles that are not frozen. And the regular way to cook it is part of the basic pasta recipe. Now, in the box, let's talk about what you get in the box. I'm gonna see if I can zoom in here and show you guys a closer look here. So, and I did not wash these because I wanted them to be completely dry. I didn't want to add any moisture since I just made those noodles before I went on live with the video. This is the roller. We're going to use this first. Then you choose if you want spaghetti or fettuccine. I like fettuccine whether I'm making it or if I'm buying it at a restaurant or something. That's just my preference. You're going to get a cleaning brush. So these are very, very easy to clean. The machine I showed you from Amazon, not easy to clean. This little knob here actually helps you when you're cleaning this. It helps you, let me just show you. You take this off. You've got your brush here, so you can brush any little pieces of pasta, but you can turn the rollers. So if you have dough on another side that's not exposed right here, you just turn the roller so that you can get it completely clean. Another trick, let me grab, let's see, where did I put it? Oh, here it is. So with this is a good example. So for the spaghetti noodles, if after you've used the brush, which I have not done, if you have any pieces that are still stuck and stubborn, you can use our cake tester. That's just a little perk. It doesn't come with, a little bonus tip, it doesn't come with the pasta set. Let me get all these pieces out so I can get this out of the way, and let's make our pasta. So I cannot wait to read the comments after this video to hear all the things that you guys are excited about. Now, remember I said flour is your friend. This is when you're gonna get messy. So I'm actually gonna put some more flour in a bowl over here. I'm not gonna be dipping my hands in this, but I am gonna take a scoop of flour because I've got tons of pasta to make. I won't make it all on camera here right now just for time's sake, but I do wanna show you how to use this. So I'm going to just flour this pastry mat. I highly recommend the pastry mat if you get the pasta roller. Now, if you already have the deluxe stand mixer, then you know that this front panel comes off. We designed this for attachment, and this is the first attachment that Pampered Chef has come out with. We are going to use the roller first, and there are 3 settings on here, 3, 2, and 1. You start at 3, and then you work your way to 1, and I will show you how to do that. You're gonna just line up, let's see if I can zoom in here a little bit. All right, there's little, you can see the little notches here. You're gonna line them up with the mixer, and you just press in, and you're gonna turn it so that it's level with the top of the mixer. I'm gonna turn this so that you guys can see a little bit better, and I'm gonna keep this view because I I think it works. So rather than zooming in and out, I'm just gonna keep it here for a bit. And remember I said flour is your friend. Couple of tips. So I cut this, I had started with this ball. I cut it in 4 pieces with my bench scraper. The ball and bench scraper are sold as a set. After you get it into that 4th, you wanna make sure you just kind of make it into a little disc. You start at 3, so I've already got this set at 3, and this is when you're gonna turn your mixer on. I'm gonna scoot around here so I can read this. Yes, I'm on custom, and you press this, you're gonna press it twice. And now, make sure you keep your hand away from here because this is gonna spin around, but you don't need a bowl here. This is where we're gonna be working. So we're starting on 3. We're just gonna put this in, and it takes a second for it to grab it. And I will tell you, the vegetable pasta, I think it has more liquid in it, and so I did find that I had to use more flour when I was using the vegetable pasta. So try to just get in the habit of flouring those noodles. So if you're making lasagna noodles, this is what you're gonna do. But if you're doing spaghetti or fettuccine noodles, you still have to do this step, okay? Now, you wanna pause it in between adjusting the roller. So we started at 3, and there's a little knob here. I just pulled it out, turned it to the 3, and I'm gonna start this again. You're gonna do each one 2 times. And I recommend cutting the pasta when it gets too long because it's easier for you to hold on to if you have shorter pieces, unless you just want super, super long pieces of noodles. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this. And I already did 2 once, so I'm gonna do the number 2 again on this one. And then I need to do 1 more for this one. And I'm just gonna keep laying flour down. We'll pause the mixer and adjust this to 1 and restart it. Put this back in again. I can see all the flour here. Like I said, flour is your friend. I have it all over my shirt. I should have worn a white shirt instead of a black shirt. So we're gonna do this 2 times. And before I put this back through, I'm gonna add some more flour. I don't know if you guys noticed that it was kind of catching a little bit. That's just because it needed a little bit more flour. So we're gonna do 1 more time on this. And see how much longer it is. If I had not cut it before, it would be kind of difficult. I'm gonna cut this again. So when we make our noodles, I have some shorter pieces to work with. All right. And if you guys have any questions, make sure you just leave them in the comments and I will be happy to answer those for you. Let me flour this again. So we have 1 more time on this. If it gets wrinkled, don't worry about it. Just keep going with it. It's not going to be perfect every time, and that's okay. I made a bechamel lasagna a couple weeks ago, and it was amazing. And this is how I made the noodles. Okay, so I'm going to pause this. Cut this in half. I'm going to turn this off, and we're going to change this out, and I'm going to put the fettuccine noodle attachment in. So I'm going to slide it in and then turn it so that it's level with this. I'm going to turn this mixer back on if I can find the I'm working backwards here. And this one you don't have any, you don't adjust anything. It's just one way. Let me grab my pan. All right. So I have another sheet pan here. Let's see. I realize that's not on the screen anymore, but that's okay. This is the part you want to see. Oops, gotta push it 1 more time. And you only use this on speed 1. That's why we're using custom, but check this out. Look at these beautiful noodles. And you can kind of grab them if they're short. I recommend that you just sort of toss them in the flour and then shake it off a little bit. That was the biggest thing that I've learned is you really have to put more flour than you think on these noodles. And you can kind of let them fall in like a little pile, but I'm going to transfer them to the little bowl of flour, and then I'm shaking it off. I know you guys can't really see that on camera. I might have got a little bit too much that time, But like I said, I'm not worried about it. I don't want the noodles to stick together when I cook them. So we're going to use the fettuccine. Whoops. If you have a piece that just wants to stay in there, that's okay. Just help it out. And we'll just dust these with flour. Shake some of that off. I should have shaken that shaken, I don't know, off in the bowl rather than there. A little bit too much. All right. I'm going to pause this and just get a little bit of flour on this. And then we're going to switch this up. So I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to put my carrot pasta dough back in the fridge. I was going to show you the basic dough, but I really want to show you, actually I'm going to show you the green. I really like the spinach. I want to show you this. We're going to do this. I didn't do this on a spaghetti cut before, so I'm going to do spaghetti cut and stick this in. Same thing as before. And I'm just going to take 1/4 of the ball and I'm going to flour this again. Remember, flour is your friend, right? Form this into a little disc. Oh, we gotta, before we cut it, we've got to roll it. Let's see. We gotta roll it first. Put this on 3, turn our mixer on. Remember, we start at 3, 2 times on each setting. Oops. And then we'll cut some pasta. So I'll show you a little bit more, and then I'm gonna go off camera, get the mess cleaned up. We're gonna get our pasta water. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on I have some water in a pot right behind my sign over here. I'm gonna go ahead and turn that on. And we'll cook this pasta also so that you can see it. Now, remember, flour, 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 so that it doesn't get caught up in your mixer, because if it's too moist, it's going to stick. And fresh pasta cooks really quickly, 3 to 5 minutes after we boil the water. I actually need to add some salt to my water. And I'm going to cut this after this round before we go to the number 1. All right. So let me cut this. I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt to my water, maybe a little less. Some people say you want the pasta water to be, to taste like the ocean, so if that's a good way for you to understand the amount of salt you want to put. All right, so 2 times on each setting. So 2 times on 3, 2 times on 2, 2 times on 1. So this is the first time for number 1. And then we flour it just a little bit. You'll know when you need to flour it because the texture, you'll start feeling the dough get a little bit sticky. And if it's sticky, it will stick together. So like I said before, if you want to make lasagna noodles, this is how you do that. I can't remember if I did that once or twice. Oops, hang on. You guys, I have lost my count. I can't remember what we did. I'm going to just go with 1. I think I cut that after I did the 2. I'm talking and teaching, and I forgot. But I think that I needed to do this on number 1. So we're going to do this 2 times. Yeah, that feels right. And then I'm going to change this, and we're going to put the spaghetti attachment on so you can see the difference in the noodles. All right. That looks good. Change this out. We're going to use the spaghetti attachment. And let me set these aside. All right, and remember, we're going to flour these. Look at this. Isn't this so much fun? I was getting ready for this video and Christian's like, can I please make some pasta? And I was like, you can help me. I'll have so much dough at the end of this class. So I'm sure he's going to be making dough. I'm going to just sprinkle I know you can't see this off camera, but it's easier than me trying to go back and forth, zooming in and out, especially with my hands not being clean. But I'm coating them in flour before I put them on the tray. And isn't that so pretty? All right. Okay. So, all right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go off camera for just a few minutes. I'm gonna get things cleaned up. I'm gonna get the pasta water ready to go. We're gonna boil some pasta, and then I'm also we're gonna make an Alfredo sauce, and it is delicious. So if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the comments so that I can answer those for you. Like I said, we have so much dough. I'm not gonna go through doing a bunch of that right now, only because it's kind of repetitive. But when I come back, I will show you some of the beetroot juice dough as well, so that you can see that. And if you guys are excited, let me know that too. So stay tuned, I'll be back. And we are ready to finish up our pasta. So off camera, I did make some, I'm gonna pick this up because it hasn't dried yet. I made some beetroot pasta. So the purple, this is angel hair or spaghetti. So it's super tiny, super thin. I just prefer the fettuccine cut for eating and any recipe. I just prefer that over angel hair or spaghetti. All right, I have our pasta cooking here, and I did some of the pink or the red and the, so carrot and beet. Don't tell my family. They'll have to learn that if they watch the replay. But I added some frozen broccoli in there too. I'm gonna let that sit for just a second longer, and then we're gonna get it ready to drain, and we're going to start on our sauce. So the recipe we're making tonight is the pesto fettuccine Alfredo recipe. It's in the New Season's Best Cookbook. And the only thing that I'm going to do differently is I'm going to use our garlic parmesan seasoning instead of the basil pesto seasoning. The reason that is my family's not huge fans of basil, even though I am. And so they love it when I make this with the garlic parmesan. So I don't want to do too much at one time, you know, going with the vegetable pasta and changing up the seasoning. So we're going to switch these out. I'm going to pour off the water here. Let me set that down. And I'm going to put this skillet on here, and I'm going to just put this on low. And let me show you. I need to grab a trivet. All right. I'm going to show you how I drain from our Brilliance cookware. So if you don't know about our Brilliance cookware, I have a whole video showing you all about it. But I love that these have straining holes on the lid. So small holes and bigger holes. I tend to go with the larger ones for pasta. Then I take this helper handle, excuse me, and put that on one side because these handles will get hot. So you have to be really careful with that. And then I take a towel so that I can hold the lid and the handle on this side, but I don't have to really worry about burning my hand because I've got that little helper handle on the side. And I'm just gonna pour this off right in the sink. Let me move a couple of these bowls out of the way. And oops, move this faucet. Hopefully you guys can see how easy this is to just drain the pasta. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna toss this in a little bit of oil since I won't have the sauce ready. If I was cooking this not on camera, I would have done this on my stovetop and I would have used 2 burners at the same time. But for the sake of the video, we're doing these at different times. I'm getting a free facial here. All right. And I just tilted that pan back a little bit just so I make sure I'm getting all that pasta water. And I probably should have saved a little bit of that pasta water for our Alfredo sauce, but it's too late for that. All right, so I'm gonna take this bowl Look at this beautiful pasta. Isn't that so great? I cook it a little bit more than al dente, only because my family doesn't like to have that little crunch. So I put a little bit of oil on here and take my, turn this up because that butter is barely melting. Just give this a little toss, and then we'll add the sauce. Now you see I have a little clump here, so that was something that clumped together, so I'm just gonna toss that because it'll be kind of gummy and I don't want that. So we're gonna just set this aside while we make the sauce. And I am using my 12-inch Brilliance skillet right here. And I just want to melt this butter. And then when the butter melts, and I'm gonna cheat on my recipe because I've only made this a couple of times so far, we're gonna do 1.5 tablespoons of the seasoning. And since I'm not using the basil pesto seasoning, I'm using the garlic parmesan seasoning, I am going to, that's the only difference in the sauce. So once this butter melts, I will stir that in, and the directions say to add the seasoning and saute the butter with the seasonings until it's fragrant, or about 2 minutes. So we're gonna get this butter melted. And then we're gonna add 2 cups of heavy cream. We're gonna add some Parmesan cheese, salt, pepper, and then I went ahead and cooked the broccoli in the in with the noodles because it was frozen. So we're gonna do 1 tablespoon of garlic parmesan. Don't dip your same spoon back in, because if you add moisture into that bottle, it's gonna all clump, and we don't want that to happen. I'm gonna put this back on a lower heat, and oh, it smells so good. So we're just whisking this, and by the way, this is the nylon spiral whisk. I love this because it won't scrape my pans. And I recently learned that the Brilliance cookware is Pampered Chef's most loved, most sold cookware. So I love that. All right, I'm gonna take my heavy cream and I'm just gonna slowly pour this in, and I'm gonna whisk with that butter and seasoning mixture. So I'm gonna just do a little bit for starters, just so that I can get all of that seasoning and butter incorporated into the sauce. And of course, if you wanted to make like a red sauce, you could certainly get out a jar of red sauce and do it that way if you want. But I'm going to, I'm not a red sauce girl. Every once in a while I'll make spaghetti with red sauce, but I would probably never order that at a restaurant. I'm always looking for Alfredo sauce or some kind of a cream base. Always the more fattening thing, right? All right, so while that is cooking, I'm going to go ahead and add the, and I'm gonna leave out the salt and pepper, by the way, because the garlic parmesan seasoning, it has salt in here. So I'm gonna add the pepper. That's what I did last time. I added the pepper, but I left out the salt. So we're gonna do 1/2 teaspoon. I don't know where my teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon went. All right, I don't want this to boil too much, so let me just finish pouring this in. We're gonna grate some cheese, and I'm actually gonna use the juicer and zester attachment. So if you have our juicer, it's pretty cool. You can juice your citrus fruit right in here, but we also have a zester attachment, and I like to use that sometimes for Parmesan cheese. So we're gonna take our block of Parmesan cheese, which I just store in one of our silicone bags, and I'm gonna just rub this back and forth. And the recipe says that we need 2 ounces, but we always add more cheese, so I'm not even gonna measure that. Add a little bit more of this. Oh, I got something tickling my nose, I apologize. So we're gonna add the Parmesan, and we're gonna keep this warm. So we're almost done. So a little bit more cheese, because if a little's good, a lot's better, right? That's what my dad told me when I was practicing my very first Pampered Chef party with him. He was one of my guinea pigs. He and my sister actually were my guinea pigs. All right. A little bit more cheese, a little bit more cream. Excuse me. Oops, I dropped that in the pot. I had something tickle in my nose and I was trying to ignore it, but I couldn't. Okay, so we're gonna just get our cream mixed together, and don't waste that Parmesan cheese. Just take that little whisk and scrape it off. We're gonna mix this in. I'm gonna do a little bit at a time, let it melt. And then you can just let this sauce thicken. So super easy. And this is the pesto fettuccine alfredo, but instead of the basil pesto, I'm using the garlic parmesan. And I wanna make sure that I don't forget anything. All right, so now you know how to make homemade pasta and you know how to make homemade Alfredo sauce. So I can't wait to hear what recipes you guys make. I'm gonna turn this down so that I don't burn it. I do want it to thicken up just a little bit, so I'll finish this off camera and we'll grate some more cheese to go on top of this pasta. So we talked about how to make the dough. I talked to you about all the different recipes that we have for you. We made the rainbow pasta, and I will be sharing recipes for the egg-free pasta and gluten-free pasta, ramen noodles, and sourdough pasta. The sourdough pasta recipe is not a Pampered Chef recipe. It's just something that I found online, and I can't wait to try it. Haven't made it yet. So you learned how to make the dough. You learned how to make the noodles. We talked about how to cook the noodles, how to freeze the noodles, and you guys should be ready to go. So if you don't have the deluxe stand mixer, you got to get one. Reach out to me. I can help you purchase one. If you want to get one at a discount or for free by hosting a party, I can help you with that too. It doesn't matter where you live in the United States or Puerto Rico, I can help you. And if you live on a military base, anywhere in the world, US military base, I can certainly help you there as well. If you already have the mixer and you want to get the pasta attachment, reach out to me. I'll help you with that. Our attachment does not work on any other mixer, just like other attachments from other mixers aren't going to work on ours. So that's a question that we get a lot. Can my KitchenAid attachment be used on the Pampered Chef mixer? And they cannot. This mixer was made differently, and of course the attachments were made for ours. So let me know what your questions are, and I look forward to sharing more classes with you soon. Let me know what else I can do for you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye everyone.